Alright guys, so I'm back with another Lost in Vivo video because my last one went really well. But in all seriousness guys, today I'm going to be analyzing the beginning of a game that deals with eating disorders, suicide, and depression. So if you have struggled with those things in the past and you know the discussion and imagery associated with those topics can cause you to engage in unhealthy behaviors, I'd ask that you leave the video and click off of it. However, I will be putting help hotlines down in the description below. I just want everyone to know who has struggled or is struggling with depression, eating disorders, all those kinds of things, that there are people out there who love you and you can get better. People do get better. Originally, I was going to make this video for Mental Health Awareness Month, but I got the idea in the last week of Mental Health Awareness Month, and I just wasn't able to finish the video in time, but I'm just going to put it out now. Thank you so much for watching, and let's get into the video. Okay guys, so for today's video I will be analyzing a particular section of Lost in Vivo. And Lost in Vivo is an indie horror game which was heavily influenced by Silent Hill and Silent Hill 2. The game features a lot of psychological horror and situations, and this first section I'm going to be analyzing parallels directly to Silent Hill 2, actually representing a character's own inner demons and the troubles in their mind. The first section is centered around a subway station haunted by the ghost of a woman who jumped in front of a train committing suicide. As you walk through the station, you can pick up notes that give you the backstory of the woman who haunts it. I'll just go ahead and summarize it for you so we can move on. This woman struggled with body issues her whole life and was even prescribed She was prescribed with this, which is more commonly known as Prozac, which I actually can pronounce. A drug prescribed to treat depression, OCD, bulimia nervosa, and panic disorder. She eventually found a boyfriend who made her feel better, but once she got pregnant, he left her. She had an intense feeling of hatred for her unborn child because of this, even referring to it as a parasite. She committed suicide shortly after the breakup. An extremely heartbreaking story that the level reflects through its setting and enemy design. Throughout the subway station, there are ads that on your first playthrough you probably won't notice, but on your second or maybe even third time through, you start to see the majority of them are weight loss ads, which are disturbingly aggressive. These weight loss ads can be taken as an accurate depiction of how a person who's suffering from an eating disorder may interpret the weight loss ads they see in real life. The enemy design is also expertly crafted to represent her warped worldview. Mirrors are enemies who eerily face you as they approach, forcing you to look at yourself. The damage your character takes represents the psychological damage she felt just by looking at herself in the mirror. Cockroaches with human faces are an example of her lack of self-worth. She sees herself as a human cockroach. And finally, leeches, which represent her unborn child, the parasite that made her boyfriend leave. Very depressing stuff. But you cannot deny the attention to detail and the effort that went into metaphorically depicting the struggles of having an eating disorder, the struggles of this woman. Remember earlier in the video when I talked about triggers? Well, looking at yourself in the mirror is a trigger for some people to purge. And it's no coincidence that every single mirror, save the mirror enemies in this level, are smashed so that you can't see your reflection. This game accurately represents the warped lens people see the world through when they're struggling with an eating disorder, by inflicting the same feelings of fear and apprehension that that woman felt and that many people feel onto the player. When you play this game, you become afraid of the mirrors. Those ads unnerve you, and the cockroaches disgust you. I cannot begin to explain how well done it is. All I can say is that it is an achievement, because once you realize what the game is doing, it can help you understand the scary world this woman lived in, and by extension, how some people with eating disorders feel. Don't worry you guys, this video isn't going to be all depressing because the game also accurately depicts recovery as well. Okay, so stage one. The player comes out of a dark corridor and into this concrete room. Relaxing music similar to the music that plays in the safe room slowly fades in, letting the player know that while they think and try to solve this puzzle, they don't have to fear being attacked by enemies. I should also mention that this music fades out whenever you actually make a decision, regardless of whether or not it's the correct answer, adding tension to your decision and making you feel uncertain about moving forward and whether or not you actually made the right choice. The first room has an unbroken mirror in the center, and two pictures hanging next to two separate corridors, one dysmorphous and scary, and another depicting a pretty blonde girl. The correct answer to the puzzle is to repeatedly go down the dysmorphous path until the picture clears up to depict a photorealistic girl. As you do this, the painting of the blonde girl falls apart. If you make a wrong decision, you get attacked by enemies at the end of the corridor. Now, what's interesting is that I made 4 different people play this section, and I let them know it was a horror game before they played. Everyone went down the blonde path first. And again, we see the game using its genre to enhance its depiction of real-life struggles. This whole section is a metaphorical representation for giving up on an unrealistic ideal and instead taking a look at yourself and learning to love yourself for who you are. But doing that can be scary at first. You don't know what you'll find inside if you start digging. Sometimes it feels safer to chase this unrealistic ideal, but that just lands you right back where you were, and it can hurt you along the way. Players feel that metaphorical apprehension literally. They don't want to be scared by this horror game, so at first they chase the ideal. Also, pretty awesome side note, the girl is photorealistic because she's a real person. And our unrealistic ideal is a drawing because it's not actually possible to achieve. It's made up, and both literally and metaphorically unrealistic. Stage 2 features another room with the same relaxing music playing in the background. It also fades out as you make decisions like in the last room. This room contains even more symbolism than the one before it. When you enter, there's an apple on a pedestal in the center. Vending machines containing rotted flesh are on your right, and their lights flicker on and off. To your left is a broken mirror, and a toilet with a green light over it. So the solution to this puzzle is to eat the apple repeatedly and walk through the door. But when you eat the apple, metal bars appear over it, giving the impression that you cannot walk through the door if you eat the apple. But to solve the puzzle, you just walk through the bars. They're imaginary and not real. They don't block the door like they appear to. To remove the bars, the imaginary bars, the player can throw up the apple in a toilet to their left. You can also just ignore the apple altogether, but both of these are wrong answers and will result in you being attacked by enemies when you walk through the corridor. As players correctly complete the puzzle, the room begins to clear up. The mirror is fixed, the green light over the toilet disappears, and the flesh in the vending machine starts to look like normal food. Now, what does all of this mean? Eating food is always going to be a contentious issue for people with eating disorders. I mean, it's in the name. It's called a eating disorder. Eating food in a consistent way can be difficult, and it can make people feel like there's no way forward. The toilet has a green light over it to make it feel more safe. For many people, purging is sometimes the only thing they can control in their lives. It gives them a feeling of safety, something that they can actually do, that they can affect, and it allows them to go on with their lives. Though this is an unhealthy option to choose. Unbelievably unhealthy. The food in the vending machine starts out fleshy to symbolize food being scary and gross. I'm not sure I have to explain what not eating the apple at all symbolizes. You guys can figure that out. Some slight criticisms of this section though. The apple is a bad food to choose for this section because it is extremely uncommon for an apple to be a fear food. Fear foods being specific foods that can cause unease. Basically, they're food triggers. Another criticism is that of the 4 people that I had play this game, only 2 people even looked over and found the toilet to throw up in it, and they just walked through the bars immediately. This is because the bars appear to shimmer and shake as the player moves, so a couple players correctly surmised that they could just walk through it, and they miss out an entire section of this game. It's a lot less tight than the previous level, which does a better job ensuring that a player will make the wrong choice before they make the correct one. Again, symbolizing a struggle with overcoming a eating disorder. When you try and fight it, it's not gonna go 100% right the whole time. This game's just really smart. I don't know what to tell you. I think it would be better if the bars looked totally solid, because not only would that be more likely to prompt players to search for an alternate route so they can see the toilet and try not to eat the apple, that kind of thing, but it would also be a better mirror for the struggles of people with an eating disorder. But ultimately, the gate serves its function as the metaphorical barrier that keeps people from recovery, that seems real, but isn't. I'm just going to go off on a quick little tangent because I think this puzzle would work great as a metaphor for overcoming problems surrounding body dysmorphia, especially if those black metal bars looked solid and real. Something that can be frustrating for both people who have an eating disorder and body dysmorphia, as well as those who are trying to help them, is arguments over the person's objective body type, or trying to get them to admit they have a problem. Immediate side note interjection. I have to say, do not confront people about this on your own. Consult a therapist. Do it in a therapeutic setting. You can be supportive and you can be loving, but get a therapist, get a psychiatrist. Very important. All right, now that I have that out of the way, I will continue with what I was saying. The way I rationalize it is that body dysmorphia is like schizophrenia, but localized entirely to your body image. When people suffer from this, they see an overweight or way too skinny or whatever perceived deformity that they have, regardless of whether or not it's true when they look in a mirror. And it seems to them completely real. That's why it's so difficult to get people to admit that they have a problem in the first place, or convince them that they look unhealthy enough to cause you concern. Imagine trying to convince a person with brown hair that they had blonde hair, or trying to tell someone one of his hands is missing. It would be extremely difficult because they'd look at themselves in the mirror and be like, what are you talking about? It's right here. So basically the message of this whole rant was two things. Number one, I think that this particular section would work well to metaphorically represent trying to overcome body dysmorphia, something that often comes with eating disorders. And two, those who have loved ones with eating disorders, be patient, find a therapist. It can be difficult. Again, getting them to admit they have a problem could be like trying to convince someone with brown hair that they're blonde. Let's move on to the last room. Stage 3, I actually don't have a lot to talk about here. You just take the baby with you, which is, supposed to symbolize her own baby, and walk through the door to solve the puzzle. Everyone I had play this, including myself, all just picked up the baby and walked out, absolutely no problems. Given the creativity and freaking awesome game design shown in the first two stages of this puzzle, it was kind of disappointing. And the only thing I really have to mention of it is the baby kind of looks like the Silent Hill baby. But anyway, you finish the puzzle, a train almost hits you, you find a note on your way to the next step of the section letting you know that the woman's spirit has been laid to rest. Happy ending. The other levels of this game have entirely different themes and don't even relate really to the first level at all. The themes of dealing with eating disorders, all gone. It's still got stuff to offer, don't get me wrong. It's just I really enjoyed the first part and I would have liked to see that continue. However, that's not to say the rest of the game is bad. I mean, you have super creepy underground apocalyptic monster type deal. You have science experiments gone wrong leading to the entire staff going crazy. The game is still fun after this point. It's just I enjoyed this part the most. You made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're new around here and you don't know how we do things, normally I use Yotsuba to talk out the rest of the video, give updates, that kind of stuff. But I'd just like to let everyone know that, even though Mental Health Awareness Month has passed, it's still relevant because with everyone stuck in quarantine, a lot of people stuck inside, and especially with all the hectic stuff that's going on with protests right now, being aware of mental illness is really more important than it's ever been in my lifetime, which is 20 years, but that's still 2 decades. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all so much again for watching. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. I promise that one will be a lot more lighthearted and fun. Either something about Doom or Skyrim or a throwback to when me and my friends are trying to be Game Grumps on this channel. Thanks again so much for watching. Sorry, I don't really know how to end videos in a cohesive way, but see you next time.